Howdy, folks. Welcome back to another frosty edition of Building Sago. It's oh, shit, February 27th already, and we're a little late getting going. The weather's been absolutely horrible, but anyways, we've dealt with that, and I think winter's back is pretty much broken. So here I am. I'm in the forward section of the boat this morning, and I'm getting ready to do a little bit of wiring. In the forward section, we'll have a separate electrical system. It's pretty much isolated from the starting in-house electrical system, and it's dedicated to the bow thruster and the windlass. It'll also run things like the washdown pump and a bilge pump, but other than that, it's a conventional system. And I've got some of the components laid out here, and we're going to have a look at those and what they are and what they're going to do, and how we'll mount them, and how I think this is all going to work. So stick with us. Could be exciting, could be electrifying, could be shocking. You never know. I'm playing with electricity. Let's spark this bugger up. So I got my blank slate here. It's just a chunk of wood, marine plywood. It's been painted, nothing special. I'll mount this in the forward section so that I have a good secure base for all these electrical components that are going to go on. And like I said, there's a 12 volt AGM battery, 200 amp hours, that will run all this stuff. And that electricity will come into the boat, or come into this electrical panel from the battery box that we built last year. And there'll be 2-aught cable that will come from the battery to this distribution network that we're going to set up for these various pieces of equipment. So the first step on the negative side is a shunt, and it's a smart shunt that hooks to a conventional battery monitor, and it will give us an indication of the health of that 12 volt battery. That 12 volt battery has its own dedicated solar charge controller that's built into our main electrical panel, which is off camera here to my right, and it will have its own 100 amp solar panel. The way boats are typically used around here, not that hopefully we won't be doing that very much, is it sits in the marina all week while people are at work trying to make a living and putting food on the table and pay for things like boats, and we all know they're expensive. So luckily for me, or maybe not luckily, I don't know, I'm retired, and I retired in 2012, and I worked under contract for a few years with the government. So we've got our shunt. Sorry, I worked with the government under contract till 2019, and then COVID popped up. So we've got our shunt and our battery monitor on the ground side, and then from that there's a ground bus, and that's where we'll stop there for now. So we've got the negative connections coming into the boat from the battery. On the positive side, we've got this huge class T fuse, and it's 300 amp fuse, and it goes on the positive side. So the positive lead comes in here, and it will go to a positive bus, and the positive one will be red. This is just holding its place. This is actually the cover for the negative. And so from there, the 12 volts will go to the bus to supply positive to all of the circuits that will be set up here. The first one that it will go to is the fuse for the windlass, and the bow thruster. So the power will come from the bus bar to the fuse for the bow thruster, and so the entire circuit is protected by the class T fuse, and each subsequent piece of equipment has its own circuit protection. And on the windlass side, it's got a 100 amp resettable breaker. So the power that runs to the breaker, this is the solenoid for the windlass, and it's separate from the windlass itself. Now, the bow thruster has essentially this same relay built into the bow thruster. That's why you don't see it here. There's going to be a circuit disconnect. Sorry, I forgot this part. Represented here by this battery switch. So the power coming in will go to the battery switch before it goes to the bus. But this is just holding its place for now. It's been ordered. It should be here today. Outside of this basic little electrical panel, we'll have all of the controls for each of the pieces of equipment. The first one is the bow thruster, and this is just a regular joystick bow thruster, and this will go in the helm station so that I can control it from there. So that will be connected to the bow thruster by extension cables. Gets a little bit of power from here. That will come from the AGM battery. Now the windlass system is going to be a bit more complex. There's actually 3 different ways to raise and lower the anchor. The first one is a small switch, just up and down toggle switch that will go in the dash. That's pretty easy. Now a lot of you that have boats with windlasses will know that these are foot switches, and those will be mounted in the foredeck, so that when Lori's up there raising and lowering the anchor, she can do that simply by stepping on the up and down buttons. So those have to get wired into the system. And if that wasn't complicated enough, we also have a radio remote control for the anchor windlass. And this is this is new old stock. I bought this years ago, actually, when I bought the windlass, and it was a currently supported piece of equipment by Anchor Lift, and documentation on it is virtually non-existent. So I've had to do a lot of looking around and scanning, but there's little pins that come out of it here, and each one has an assignment except for the last one, and those have to be wired in parallel with the wiring for the other 2 types of switches. Now I think, if I remember correctly, reading about this device, it can also not only raise and lower the anchor, but it can shift the bow thruster to the port and starboard. So this would be really pretty cool for somebody who's working up on the bow, and like we like to do locks and stuff like that in canals. So quite often, with only 2 of us, Lori would be on the bow and I would be on the stern, and she would be able to move the boat into or away from the wall using the bow thruster and this. Probably hanging on a lanyard, so that she can make all of those movements just without having to look at foot switches, or me having to operate, run back into the helm and operate the bow thruster and run back out. So that's a pretty neat little option. The only thing it does is it makes things terribly complex, but you know, simpler is probably better, except when cool is really cool. So I'm just waiting for a few more components to show up, and we're going to put this mount this board and mount some of these components, and then we'll start to wire it up, and we'll go through all the specifications for the wiring and stuff like that once we get to that point. So if you have any questions, just throw them down in the comments, and I'll answer them all. I don't have a schematic for this entire system. This thing is being built organically as I grow and I incorporate each piece of equipment into it now. So it's a couple of days later, folks. Had a few parts come in. I'll have a look at those. It's warm outside today and the snow is melting, and I had to wade through 2 inches of water to get in here this morning. So this kind of weather generally means that my feet freeze first, so we'll see how long we can go. But anyways, I'll have a look at what's changed. First thing that came in was our solenoid, and that's going to make remotely switching this whole system on and off from the helm, so I can just connect. Doing this, there's no need for a battery switch, which means I don't have to run down, turn the switch on, run back up, that kind of thing. So second thing that came in was our positive bus bar. It's the same inside as the ground. I think the studs are a little different size. It says M10s, it says M8s, but it is what it is. I bought this a long time ago for actually another project, and so I think our layout is going to be something like this. It's going to be positive to the positive bar goes to the valve thruster, positive to the breaker goes to the relay for the windlass. That's pretty simple. Our shunt will be in the circuit from the ground. Will come in from the battery here, come out here and go into the bus bar to service the grounds. So the positive lead will come in from the battery here and it will go into the bus bar. And I've got some heavy brass bar stock that I think I can make a connection bar rather than try and force 2-aught cable with 2 heavy crimped-on lugs to make that joint. I can adjust height and depth and bend it to make it fit the way I want it to fit. So I've got a couple of those. Pretty cool. So as it stands right now, it's too friggin' miserable to work in here, so I'm going to wrap this little video up. This will come out next Saturday, which is the 8th of March. So until then, I may post a few little short videos and things and some progress, maybe pulling some wire, we'll see. So until next time, from Laurie and I, thank you all for looking in. We're going to do our draw for our coffee mug winners right now. So if you were a couple of our lucky winners, just contact me, place a comment on this video, and we'll get in touch and we'll make sure we get our mugs out to you. So congratulations. We hope you enjoy the mugs, and until our next episode, be well and happy, stay warm and dry hopefully, and we'll see you soon. Cheers.